Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going over 10 key lessons in personal finance that have transformed my life, and I think that they will transform yours as well, as long as you put them into place. So let's waste no time here and get into personal finance lesson number 1, which is that delayed gratification is crucial to everything. If you can resist the temptation of an immediate reward, then usually your payoff will be a lot greater later on in life. This happens often in the investing world. So let's say you invest in the stock market. If you buy and hold for a very long time, let's say 10, 30, or even 50 years, the bigger and bigger your gains are gonna be. It's the same reason why so many financial experts recommend not touching your savings or your 401k, because they know that if you have your money in one of those accounts, the longer that it has to compound, it usually is better for your retirement. In terms of everyday purchases, delayed gratification can be boiled down to a simple phrase, which is that if you can't buy it twice, don't buy it. So hopefully that phrase is pretty self-explanatory, but if you can buy an item twice, then that probably means you're in a pretty good financial position in order to buy that said item. For example, let's pretend you want to buy something worth $500, so maybe a new Xbox or PS5, and you can afford it once, but the idea of a purchase that's over $1,000 seems kind of daunting. That's when I'd probably argue you can't afford the $500 purchase in the first place, because if the $1,000 purchase makes you uncomfortable, then it's probably not a good idea. Delayed gratification can also help with your decision making. I find that whenever you have a decision presented to you, and especially if it's a big decision in your life, such as a career change, if you zoom out 10 or 20 years, usually the picture becomes a lot clearer. So I personally remember a situation at work that I was in. So I was working in the monetization department at a mobile video game company, and I wanted to switch to marketing because they had a higher base salary for their employees. The short-term thinking in me wanted the extra salary of 10 or 20K by switching over to marketing and doing roughly the same amount of hours of work. But the idea was like, okay, if I zoom out 10 or 20 years, I didn't really want to be doing marketing in 20 years. So it really didn't make any sense for me. So if you can combine long-term thinking and delayed gratification, that's when I think you become unstoppable in life. Personal finance lesson number 2 is to track 3 numbers. I like to call them the big 3, and those 3 numbers are your expenses, your savings rate, as well as your net worth. I find that if you're able to track these 3 numbers and make improvements to them over time, your personal financial position will just get better and better, and there's no doubt in my mind that you will become financially free. When it comes to your expenses, the first thing you want to track are your fixed expenses, so things like your transportation, your housing, your utilities, and healthcare insurance, etc. And you want to make sure that as a percentage of your income, it's not making up more than 50 to 60%. If they are larger than 60% of your income, that's when things get a little bit dicey, and you might not have enough money in your other parts of your budget for things like discretionary expenses or even savings and investments. When it comes to discretionary expenses, I like to keep my personal expenses in check, so I do that by tracking everything that I spend, and then I just have frequent check-ins throughout the month. Let's say your target spend per month is $1,500 in discretionary expenses, then what you can do is just have a check-in, let's say on the 15th of the month, so halfway through the month. Your discretionary expenses should be around $750. Now, if you are ahead of that, so let's say you've spent $800 or maybe even $900 by the 15th day, you know that you need to cut back a little bit for the rest of the month. When it comes to tracking your personal savings rate percentage, I would try to aim for a percentage of savings of your income of around 10%, and then slowly try to ramp it up from there. Ideally, if you're tracking your savings rate, you have more of an eye on it at all times. You're more aware of it, and hopefully it's going up over time, because as your savings rate increases, that means you're going to have more money for activities such as investing.
Look at all this floor space.
So
You can do aerobics in here.
so many activities.
Do step class.
It's making my head spin how many activities we can do.
Now, speaking of net worth, this is the last number that I like to track, and the whole idea of tracking it is mostly for peace of mind. I think it's a wonderful thing to track because it'll give you perspective on your financial life, and so sometimes I'll even look back to my expense tracker from, say, 2021 or 2020 and just see how much my net worth has grown over the years. If you'd like a link to my own net worth tracker, I actually made one a couple years ago and I made it completely free, so I will leave a link to that down below in the description. Personal finance lesson number 3 that transformed my life is that you don't actually have to invest in too many things. I see this situation a lot with some of my friends as well as my subscribers' investment portfolios, is that oftentimes people invest in way too many ETFs and way too many stocks for their own good. And oftentimes people think that they're doing a good job by investing in, let's say, 10 or 12 ETFs, but the thing is that usually they have overlapping holdings with one another. Like, for example, if you took ticker symbol VOO, which is Vanguard's S&P 500 ETF, and then you also bought VOE, which is Vanguard's mid-cap value ETF, you can see that 92.1% of VOE's holdings are in VOO already. So while you think you could be diversifying your portfolio by investing in a bunch of ETFs, you could actually be doing the opposite and probably doing more harm than good. Most index tracking ETFs are super simple and very well diversified, so oftentimes you just need 1, 2, or maybe even maximum of 3. And if you are having way more than that, you might just be making it more confusing for yourself. Investing should be simple and passive, and most casual investors that just buy an S&P 500 ETF, for example, over the past 15 years, they would have outperformed 92% of large active fund managers, according to S&P Global. All right, personal finance lesson number 4 today is to be aware of big purchases that are depreciating assets. We all know things like cars depreciate, but other things depreciate as well, such as jewelry and watches, clothing, books, smartphones, and even computers. So if you're spending money on one of these assets that are depreciating, the worst thing that you can do is actually borrow money to finance it, because at that point you are borrowing money from, let's say, a bank at a high interest rate, and you are not only paying the bank to finance your purchase, but you are financing something that is going down in value over time. You are paying money to lose money in this case. Now, I'm usually referring to things like jewelry, clothing, or even furniture. I mean, when was the last time you bought, let's say, a new couch? It was $2,000, but then only 3 years later, you throw it up on Facebook Marketplace. It's selling for $200. You just lost $1,800 on your purchase, plus the fact they might not even actually come to pick it up. Have you ever talked to somebody on Facebook Marketplace? They literally say they're coming, then they ghost you. It's a whole emotional roller coaster. All right, enough with Facebook Marketplace. Let's get into personal finance lesson number 5, which is that if you invest for more than 20 years, it should typically yield positively. In the infamous blog post from the website of Dollars and Data, there's a really strong argument as to why the retail investor should stay invested over a long period of time. He points out that as stocks get more expensive, so he's using the PE ratio to gauge whether a stock is expensive or not, but essentially as the PE ratio goes up, their future returns generally decrease. And this kind of makes sense. Like if you buy an overvalued stock, it probably won't return as high as if you bought an undervalued stock. And you can see here that as PE ratios increase, so as stocks get more expensive, there's a negative correlation here with your returns for the next 5 years. There are more red dots in the 30 to 40 PE range than the 10 to 20 range, so red represents a negative return for the next 5 years. But the fascinating thing here is that as long as you hold for a longer period of time, you can see that as the years pass by, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, etc., the number of red dots slowly decreases. The author states that, quote, over any 20-year period, US stocks have had no real negative returns when including dividends, and over a 30-year period, the returns have generally converged despite some dispersion. So he's basically telling us that if we want to accumulate our wealth no matter what, we should just keep buying into the stock market. As long as our holding period can be longer than 20 years, it's unlikely that we're going to lose money. Oftentimes, people think that the stock market is overvalued and then they end up not investing into the market at all. The author used a really excellent example to drive this home in his blog post. So for example, if you search stock market overvalued 2012 and you put that into Google, there are many articles that will come up detailing what investors believed at the time, which was that the market was overpriced by 50%. But if you look at this graph from the S&P in 2012, it was trading for around the 1400-ish levels. And if you had believed it was overpriced back then, you would have missed out on some serious gains over the past 10 years. Personal finance lesson number 6 is that saving money is very important, yes, but at the beginning, it's the most important. Something that's not so obvious to people is that they think that making money has to do with how good their investments do or how good their business venture does. But when you don't have that much to your name, what you should actually be doing instead is relentlessly saving, so saving very aggressively. And the whole idea of this is that you want to build up an initial nest egg so that it can compound for you later on, and then your money can make money on itself. So famously, the first 100K will probably be more comprised of savings rather than investment returns. So if we actually look at this calculator from the 4-Pillar Freedom blog, you can see that right here. If you save $13,000 a year for 6 years and you're able to attain a 7.5% return on your savings, you will have $101,000 after 6 years. But guess what? 77% of that 101K will be comprised of savings. In another case, let's say you have 10K per year that you're saving and you're averaging an even higher return, so 10% on your money. It will take you 7 years at a 10% return, but your savings still comprise 67% of your total $104,000 balance at the end. So with compound interest, we all know that friction is in the very beginning. So all the friction is at the beginning. So therefore, if you're able to save money when you have no money to your name, every dollar is going to be worth way more for you in the future because it's working for you as it's compounding. There really is no secret to getting over the hump. So getting your initial nest egg going, it really just takes a lot of discipline and savings and a lot of diligence. So if you are new to it, just stick with it. Personal finance lesson number 7 that transformed my life is that investing should be boring. You likely aren't going to get rich by day trading, but what will get you wealthy over the long term is buying and holding into, let's say, an index fund and just simply forgetting about it. So I want to share with you guys a snippet from a podcast with the Psychology of Money author Morgan Housel, and it is really genius.
Your book taught me that successful investing is when you lose the password to your investment account.
Yes, that's exactly it.
I don't actually think you said that in there, but that's like, when I lose the password to my investment account, I'm so proud of myself.
Yeah.
Because it means I haven't checked it in forever.
And I think this is really true. Like, we should be aiming to forget our investment account passwords so long as we are well diversified in our total investing portfolio. If you are invested for the 10, 20, or even 30-year time horizon and beyond, the best thing that you can do is just to hold and continue to dollar cost average into those investments. So that means continue contributing and investing. This strategy is boring and average, I get it, but listen in on this next quote from the same podcast on why you shouldn't try to beat the market and try to just aim for average returns.
I think it's extremely hard to beat the market, and very few people will do it. But I think there are really smart people who can do it, and people who I know who I could invest with. The reason I don't is not because I don't believe it can be done. It's because the variable that I want to maximize for in my investments is endurance. If I can just earn average returns for an above average period of time, it's going to lead to amount of success that will literally put you in the top 5% of investors.
So yeah, right there you have it. Top 5% of all investors just by being average and doing boring things such as investing in an index fund and just kind of stepping away. Personal finance lesson number 8 today is to not pay attention to your peers, not in terms of life, like you definitely want to pay attention to them, but don't compare yourself to others. Personal finance is a lifelong pursuit, and you might be tempted to draw comparisons to other people in your life, such as your friends, your colleagues, or even people that are the same age as you. And even with social media these days, it's going to be in your face 24/7. But it's important to remember that everybody's on their own path, and your situation might be a lot different than your friend's situation, and your goals are going to be completely different as well. And these people on social media, don't even pay attention to them. You don't even know what's going on behind the scenes. They're really just showing you the highlights of their life. The truth is that no one's going to just go up to you and show you their bank account and be like, yo, this is how much money I got. You should feel bad for yourself. No, that's not going to happen. Drawing a comparison is just going to waste your time and mental energy, and you could use that time and energy to focus on yourself. Some people love spending everything that they make. Some people love saving everything that they make, and some people are just in between. And also when it comes to spending, everyone has different values as well. It's easier said than done, but I find that if I'm not comparing myself to other people, then the amount of impulse purchases that I make as well, it goes down. Personal finance lesson number 9 today is along the same vein, and that is to avoid becoming the 30K millionaire. This is a phrase that I learned about in Texas, and a 30K millionaire, according to Urban Dictionary, is individuals that make $30,000 per year but act like they make millions. So for example, check out this 30K millionaire driving the low-end BMW who still lives at home with his parents. Or someone who goes to a club and pays to get the VIP table and then can't buy any drinks because they spent all the money on the table. What a 30K millionaire. So the lesson here is that people that look like they have money, they probably don't have money, and the wealthy people that actually do have money, they won't dress or even act like they have money at all. According to a study of millionaires, most wealthy people live well below their means. That's how they got there in the first place. The best quote of the book, The Millionaire Next Door, is that, quote, "If your goal is to become financially secure, you'll likely attain it. But if your motive is to make money, to spend money on the good life, you're never gonna make it." It's a good reminder that if we focus on our own goals and living within our means, we'll probably hit financial freedom and financial security, and that's probably what you wanna do. Don't become the 30K millionaire at all. Personal finance lesson number 10 that changed my life is that what's risky for you is not risky for someone else, and vice versa. Just like not comparing yourself to others, don't make the same decisions as somebody else just because they do it. I mean, your risk profile is going to be very different than, let's say, your neighbors. You want to make sure that if you're getting financial information or financial advice from anybody, that you're doing your own critical thinking and really thinking through if it makes sense for you. General advice is not a one-size-fits-all, and even on this channel or any other YouTube channel that you see, you should always be applying a filter to it, which is like, is this decision right for me? I don't mind if you're getting inspiration and ideas and starting points from online, TV, your friends, wherever you get that information. I think that's totally fine, but you really want to be conscious of whatever you put into place in your own life. All right, so those were my top 10 personal finance lessons. Let me know what you thought in the comments. You might want to also check out this video right here. It's on the 21 money lessons everyone should know to be financially literate. Make sure to hit the subscribe button on the channel down below. It takes 0.1 seconds, and I will see you guys in the next video or that video. All right, peace.